Hello everybody, Devin here. Third video today, and I know what you guys are thinking. You're like, oh no, he finally did a German World War II helmet, because he said he wasn't going to do those in his other video because they're so common. Well, I got you. This isn't German. It's Bulgarian, and it's an M36A, and we'll cover the models later. And it looks very close to a Stahlhelm, because guess who it was designed by? Germany. So these actually came out before, just after Germany had revised their M1916 Stahlhelm. So they're like World War I Stahlhelm, which is this huge big duckbill thing. And they came up with the M35. And this is the Bulgarian M36, and it's based off the M35. And you can spot the differences because these are usually a lighter green color. The Germans use something called satin apple green is their thing, and the Bulgarians went for an olive drab. You can also tell the difference because of this comb. This helmet has a slight comb in it, a little peak, but other than that, it's pretty much the same as far as the liner and everything goes, and the chin strap and all. But this helmet actually continued to see service up into the 70s and the 80s, unlike the, I think actually the M36C is still in use today with the Bulgarian military. So it's one of the oldest helmet designs still in use by any country. So it must have worked something, and we'll get into the specs of this helmet now. This helmet was designed in conjunction between the Bulgarian and, at the time, Nazi governments to equip Bulgaria, who was kind of behind the times, and one of Germany's allies in World War II, one of their first allies, to get them up to specs for World War II, on par with the German military. And one of the first things they needed to get was a new helmet, and this is their new helmet. And unlike the M35, this is made out of ungodly thick steel. These helmets are heavy, even for World War II standards, which tend to be light compared to like today's Kevlar helmets. This weighs almost as much as an ACH. It's made out of such thick steel, and that's good because it gives you protection, but it's also bad because it wears the soldier out and it fatigues them a lot, and they really didn't like that. And there was a lot of stuff they could have simplified on this helmet a lot more, and they did in the later models. Now, all the M36As were made in Germany on presses that were made in Germany. The presses didn't make it to Bulgaria until the late 1930s, just before World War II started. And it's not uncommon to see some Germans wearing these, especially later in the war, during like the invasion of Berlin and stuff like that, because they had a couple of them laying around. But there's three models. There's the M36A, the M36B, and the M36C. And this is the A. And this was the most common World War II helmet for Bulgaria, is the A model. And the easiest way to tell the A model from the rest of the models is the A model has a rolled rim. So it has a nice soft edge on it. So it's not raw, and it won't cut you. The M36B has pretty much the same liner, alright? The rivets are larger on it. This was post-war updated, so it has small rivets. And a new liner. The liner's pretty much the same, though, as the World War II ones. It's kind of that German tongue style with the vent holes and roller buckle chin strap. But it initially had larger rivets for everything. And the M36B had the larger rivets too. And then the M36C changed, and the rivets were placed up higher to have kind of how the Russians did, where they had these like little arms that would stick down in the shell, and then the liner was hooked to those arms to create more space between the liner and the shell in the event of an impact that gave the liner movement and freedom from the shell. So you had kind of an air cushion between the shell and your head, which helped reduce impact damage by a lot. So all in all, this is a very comfortable helmet as far as designs go. And the M36C came about just either right at the end of World War II or just after it, but the M36A and the M36B were used by Bulgaria in World War II. And they're pretty common helmets out there. They're really nice helmets as far as steel quality goes. You almost find them in condition like this. The liners tend to be kind of rough, but the shells look like they were almost untouched, or they might have some little surface scratches in the paint and stuff because they use such a nice steel in them, and they've really stood the test of time because they didn't skimp on any of the quality. So they're not as popular as the obviously German World War II helmets, but I really like Bulgaria as a country because it's kind of the best mashup between Russia and Germany. You see them using a lot of Russian type stuff. You see them using a lot of German type stuff, and it's a country a lot of people forget about. They were on the German side in World War I and World War II, and it's got a lot of history behind it, as well as becoming a Soviet bloc state after World War II, and pretty much their biggest involvement as far as on the world stage goes was our version of the Cuban Missile Crisis against Russia, which is when we put Jupiter missiles in Turkey, because Turkey was a NATO country. So Bulgaria shares a border with Turkey, and they ended up kind of getting at odds there, because this was considered one of the front lines of the Cold War, was between Bulgaria and Turkey. So this helmet has a lot of history behind it because it went through all of those wars. In versions of it still in use today, you can see pictures of modern Bulgarian soldiers with their 5-color DPM pattern over one of these helmet shells. People have ballistically tested these, and it stops a lot of threats, even though it seems it's a very simple design. It's just because it's made out of such nice steel and such thick steel. It's still a feasible option out there, unless you literally hit it on one of these rivets. But if you hit pretty much any helmet on one of the rivets, since it's a weak spot in the shell, it'll go through at least one side usually. So, but I think that'll just about cover this helmet. Hopefully you guys aren't too upset about me playing that joke on you with the German World War II helmet at the beginning of this video. But I'll leave it at that. Leave a like, leave a comment if you want to see anything else, or anything other topics for videos in particular, and spread the word about the channel so the information can get out there, because if nobody watches it, the information doesn't get out there and it just stays in my head, which I really don't need it to stay in my head. So with that, I'll leave it here, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.